Good morning. This is cause number 2019-70481 in the interest of Sebastian Caicedo. Parties, please raise your right hands to be sworn. Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, ma'am, please state your name and your relationship to the child.
Sylvia Caicedo, I'm his mother.
Sir?
Juan Cantu, father.
And for the state?
Marcella Turner.
We have an original petition to sue for parent-child relationship. We've had previously an agreed temporary order, is that correct? And we're having a hearing today, is that correct, Ms. Turner?
It is, Your Honor.
All right, do we have any stipulations?
We do, Your Honor. May I read the stipulations into the record?
Yes.
The parties have agreed to child support in the amount of $572 to begin August 1st, 2020. The parties have also agreed that Mr. Cantu will continue to cover medical and dental insurance through his employer.
All right.
And the issues before the court.
Is that the total sum of the agreement so far? Is that your agreement, Mr. Cantu?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Caicedo, that your agreement so far?
Him and I have agreed to a few other things as well that we have mentioned previously.
Have you told Ms. Turner that you have an agreement on certain things?
Yes.
Your Honor, she's referring to things that are not before the court today that she wanted to ask the court to consider. But as far as what is before the court today and what was pled by the Office of the Attorney General, what I read into the record were the two issues that they agreed upon.
All right, let's proceed with the, and you'll have an opportunity to talk about this, Ms. Caicedo. But right now we're going to proceed with the hearing.
Okay.
So the issues then will be managing conservatorship,
geographical restriction depending on the conservatorship order, non-disclosure, visitation, and retroactive child support.
Okay, Ms. Caicedo, have you all agreed to any of this other stuff? Disclosure and visitation and retroactive child support. Have you agreed to any of that?
No.
Okay. All right, let's proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the state would like to call Ms. Caicedo to the stand. Ms. Caicedo, how old is the child before the court today?
1.
And who does she primarily reside with?
It's a male. He lives with me.
Okay. And has Mr. Cantu ever visited with the child?
Yes.
Okay. And was it prior to the temporary orders or was it during the time of the temporary orders?
Both.
Both, okay. And how often does he typically visit with the child?
It's been sporadic, both before and after.
Has the child ever spent the night with Mr. Cantu?
No.
And have you and Mr. Cantu ever lived together?
Yes.
You did? I'm sorry, let me rephrase. Have you and Mr. Cantu ever resided together since the child's birth?
No.
And during the time that the child was born, has Mr. Cantu ever provided financial support for the child?
Yes.
And about how much has he provided financially for the child, whether it was monetary or clothing and shoes, if you could put an estimate on that for the court as well.
Are you referring to before the order or after?
Before the order. So,
We
beginning-
agreed upon the sum of $200.
okay, and that was during the time period that the child was born up until the time he started paying child support?
Yes.
Okay. And has he ever provided clothing or shoes or diapers or daycare expenses for the child? Has that ever been provided by Mr. Cantu?
The $100 of that was cash sent, and the other was diapers, and
But-
I believe an outfit or two.
And the
Are you
total sum,
talking, excuse me, are you talking about a total of $200 cash and other things? Is that correct, Ms. Castedo?
A total of $100 cash, and the rest, we came up to the amount of $100 to constitute the diapers and the
Okay,
few-
okay, listen to my question. Are you talking about the total cash and everything else you say is $200? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead.
now, does Mr. Cantu know where you currently reside?
Yes.
And has Mr. Cantu ever threatened to do harm to you or the child?
No.
Has Mr. Cantu ever abused either you or the child on this case?
Me.
Okay, and could you briefly explain to the court what took place or what type of abuse took place?
For the most part, our relationship has been with a lot of hostility and aggression. We've had 2 separate incidents of physical aggression. Aside from that, has been more emotional abuse and financial abuse. The period of abandonment during the time of the pregnancy.
Okay, so when you state that there has been emotional abuse, could you elaborate a little bit more for the court?
Yes. It has been intimidation, gestures, and written, bullying, gaslighting. He stole from my house, putting me down. A lot of it is, I recognize, is emotional things that
Could you explain a little bit more when you say that Mr. Cantu, I think you stated that he put you down. Could you elaborate a little bit more? What do you mean by he put you down?
his most recent commentary was stating that I'll just read it.
I'm going to object to you reading it. Could you just state what was said?
Oh, like name calling, insulting, saying that I'm not a good mother, saying that I'm not a good woman, I'm trash.
And by intimidation, what do you mean by that when you say that Mr. Cantu has intimidated you?
He has a marked pattern of in the way that he speaks to me, of after he's done something, for instance, him not being there for Sebastian. Let's say when we came home from the hospital, later on he will talk to me about it, and it's shifting blame towards me, not, and so he's hostile during that time. Most of our communication is in writing probably since Sebastian's been born.
Okay.
Are you, Ms. Turner, are you asking these questions regarding non-disclosure? Is that what the issue that you're asking these questions?
Yes, correct, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Caicedo, if you say he knows where you live now, right?
Yes, I've been at the same place since.
And has he come over to anything? Has he bothered you?
No.
If he knows where you live, like right now, is he likely to cause you or your child any harassment or abuse or serious harm or injury?
No, he has not came unannounced or anything like that.
So if he knows where you live, he's not going to do any of that stuff, right?
I don't think that he would come
All
unannounced.
right. Okay. All right. Let's move on from non-disclosure.
Okay. To your knowledge, does Mr. Cantu have any other children other than your child, biological children?
Yes.
And is that child under the age of 18?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what type of visitation are you asking this court for today?
Right now, a visitation place that we can, an actual point of meeting that we could meet at. I have looked into, I saw that the Domestic Relations Office offers some sort of center.
So the question was what type of visitation, not where the visitation would take place. What type of visitation?
Oh, the same that we have, the phased in orders for.
Okay. So you're okay with the phased in the modified visitation? Is
Yes.
that
What I would
okay.
like to change is our location, because our current location is closed right now for COVID.
Are you referring to the supervised portion of the modified visitation?
Yes.
And where are you asking that to take place?
The Domestic Relations Office has a center, I've been told.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this too. Do you feel that you and Mr. Cantu are unable to come to decisions jointly or make decisions jointly regarding this child?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you feel that you and Mr. Cantu can make decisions jointly about this child?
No.
And why is that?
We're having a problem with the Zoom.
I think she's frozen.
Yeah.
I was hoping that it would snap out or snap back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Casito? Ms. Casito? No, wait. Okay, she's back.
Oh,
You're muted. You're muted.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm not sure what happened. So we have been unable to do that. Every time he's very hostile and aggressive when we go to talk.
Okay, so you don't believe that you two should be should share the same rights and duties as it relates to the child?
No, he has not been active in his life.
Has he attempted to be active in the child's life?
There has been attempts, yes.
Okay, so why hasn't he been able to be active if he's attempted?
I believe he gets discouraged in regards to one of the last statements that he told me was that he shouldn't have to go through these hurdles, that what he's done to me shouldn't, in regards to the abandonment and now his living, like going to live with the girlfriend now while we were married, that shouldn't be a factor. And so I've tried to talk to him in regards to that. We distinguish the two, yes. However, in regards to Sebastian, his behavior has not been what I think in the child's best interest.
Okay. And are you requesting retroactive child support for that time frame beginning when the child was born up until Mr. Cantu was ordered to pay child support?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you willing to give him credit for the amount that you stated earlier if the
Yes.
court?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions for this witness. I'll pass the witness.
Well, let me ask, Ms. Turner, what period of time are you talking about? How many months are we talking about?
That would be 6 months, Your Honor, and 12 days.
All right. All right, Mr. Cantu, do you have any questions for Ms. Caicedo?
No, sir.
All right, call your next witness.
Thank you. The state would like to call Mr. Cantu. Mr. Cantu, can you unmute yourself for me? Mr. Cantu, in regards to a conservatorship, do you think that you and Ms. Caicedo could make decisions about this child, or you should have the same rights and duties as it relates to the child?
Yes.
Have you attempted to be involved in this child's life?
Yes.
About how often do you call to inquire as to the child's general welfare or send a text message regarding the child's welfare?
As far as I reach out whenever it's my visitation day is coming, and that most of the time turns into a negative interaction. So I kind of just stop there.
Okay. Are you wanting to be more involved?
Yes, I was the one that actually filed, the paperwork to get this started, and that was in August. So he was a couple weeks old when I. So I do, so I really do want to be more involved in his life.
And you have another child, correct?
Yes.
And you've cared for that other child as well. Is that also correct?
Yes, for 8 years.
Okay, so you're capable of making decisions on your own if need be while the child's in your possession. Is that also correct?
Correct.
Now, in regards to the retroactive child support, did you and Ms. Caicedo ever live together since the child's birth? Have you ever lived together?
No.
And have you provided financially for this child or bought the child clothing or shoes or anything of that nature since the child's birth?
Yes.
And if you had to estimate about how much you've given financially or paid for things, how much would you say that you've given?
I would say around 600.
Okay. So outside of that $600, do you agree that some retroactive child support should be ordered?
Yes.
And are you asking this court to give you credit for the 600 that you have provided, however?
Yes.
Now, the job that you're currently at, how long have you been there?
14 and a half years.
And has your salary, your current salary, is it about the same amount you were making 6 months ago?
Yes. Yes.
And that child support amount that you recently or that you earlier agreed to, that you understand that did factor in your other child, is that correct?
Correct.
And as far as visitation goes, how many times have you seen the child?
5 times.
Okay, was that during the temporary orders period or prior to?
During the temporary orders.
And prior to the temporary orders, did you visit with the child or did you attempt to visit?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how did you do when you visited with the child? Were there any issues regarding you being able to care for the child in your possession at that time?
No issues.
So what type of visitation are you asking this court for today?
I'm asking the court if we can move to phase 2 due to the, I believe it's unsafe to be in one public location for 4 hours. Number one. Number two is she's consistently refused to follow the temporary order that we have. And I feel like it's just, it's been, a negative situation when it's.
Let me ask a question, Mr. Turner. Why, sir, have you only visited with the child 5 times?
Because she's refused to follow the order and meet at a location.
Well, you understand if she refuses to follow a court's order that you can file a contempt action against her and I could put her in jail for that. You understand
that? Yes, I do.
All right, Mr.
So during the temporary orders period, have you consistently contacted her when it was your weekend to see the child?
Yes.
Okay. and you've only just been allowed to see the child 5 times. Is that your testimony?
Correct.
So you're okay with the modified visitation? You just would like to go ahead and go to the unsupervised portion for the 4 hours, beginning with the second phase. Is that correct?
Yes.
No further questions? Oh, I'm sorry, one other question for you. And are you asking this court to appoint both you and Ms. Casito as joint managing conservators?
Yes.
No further questions for this witness. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Casedo, you have questions for Mr. Cantu?
Yes, sir. One, you mentioned that you've only visited with Sebastian 5 times. Those were the times during the court order or after, before the court order?
During the court order.
Okay. And the time, did you visit with Sebastian previously to the court order?
Yes.
And who initiated those visits?
I believe you did.
Have I been encouraging of you to establish a relationship with Sebastian from dating from prior to pregnancy? I mean, during pregnancy and prior to his birth.
Yes.
So when you're saying that I've not allowed the visitations during the time of this order, can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I've asked if we can meet on the assigned court order dates, and you've refused.
What has been, can you specify what dates those were?
Yes. So the visitation for March 21st, April 4th, April 18th, May 2nd, May 16th, June 20th, July 4th, and July 18th.
On for those visits, March 21st, April 4th, April 18th, May 2nd, and May 16th. I sent you messages offering alternative places to meet because the library was closed. Is that true or false?
That is false. You offered to do FaceTime.
I offered to meet at a park. I offered to meet at other locations. We communicate in writing.
Okay.
And so you're saying that I did not offer to meet during those times?
No.
And when I offered, in addition to meeting, well, I offered also to FaceTime, and I specified that it wasn't in replace of a meeting, it was just a supplement. What did you respond?
That portion wasn't clear. Yeah, it's when we spoke at the time, it was in replacement of the physical visitation.
So you're denying that I sent you a message specifying that it was not in replacement, it was to supplement, so that he could continue to see you so that an extended period of time would not go by.
Correct.
And during once the library had closed and I asked if we could find an alternative location in regards to like a supervised visitation center, that did you want to do that or not?
I looked into it. I don't recall ever communicating back with you whether we should or not.
Okay. So I'd just like to address the court that I've never denied the visitation. I've always offered alternatives. In fact, I
Okay, ma'am, I'll let you make a statement after. Right now, you have an opportunity to ask them questions, but I'll let you make a statement after.
okay.
You have any more questions?
On the visitation of the first, did you bring the necessary supplies for Sebastian? Did you bring food, formula, bottles, a blanket, a stroller, anything like that for Sebastian?
The first meaning February 1st?
The first visit, February 1st.
Yes, I did.
Okay. So my mom supervised that visit, and she specified that you had not, and we spoke about it. Did we speak about that in writing afterwards, after the visit?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay. On the next visit, on the 15th of February, did you bring any food for Sebastian, a blanket or a stroller, anything necessary? for him?
Objection, relevance.
All right, sustain.
Can I proceed or?
You have to ask another question, ma'am.
Okay. Have you provided food and things that Sebastian needed necessary to complete?
Relevant.
I'm not sure what that means. Do I proceed?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Do I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On March 7th, did you give Sebastian expired formula?
Ma'am,
Objection.
these are periods of time where has supervised visitation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I don't expect a person going to a supervised visitation to bring anything other than himself.
It's something that we had agreed upon.
I'm assuming that you have food for the child and so forth and so on.
Yeah, yes. What we had agreed upon was that he would bring what was necessary for the child, and then although I did bring those items just in case.
Well, I would expect that you would. Okay, let's move on to another question, please.
Okay. This why have we not been able to make joint decisions for Sebastian?
I don't know. That's my question as well.
Have you been violent in the past?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions, Ms. Caicedo?
No, sir.
All right. I haven't heard anything about geographical restrictions, Ms. Turner.
Oh, Your Honor, if I could question Ms. Casedo again.
All right.
Ms. Casedo, what county do you currently reside in?
Harris County.
And to your
I'm
knowledge,
sorry, Houston?
Harris?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that again. Hold on just a minute before you answer. Okay. Where?
It's the city of Spring, but it's considered Harris County.
Spring, okay.
to your knowledge, what county does Mr. Cantu currently reside in?
I know he lives in Katy, but I'm not sure what county that is.
And in regards to the restriction, would you be in agreement with the court ordering that you continue to maintain the child's residence within Harris or the surrounding counties?
No, I would not be in agreement.
Okay. Why is that? Do you have intentions of moving sometime soon?
Yes, Juan has been aware that I received a job offer that's temporary. It's not a permanent. It's a training that would be about a year long.
And where is that located?
It can either be in New Mexico or in Odessa.
Okay. And so you stated that it's a temporary job assignment.
It's yes. Uh-huh.
And when are you slated to begin this temporary assignment?
My father owns a trucking company, so it's to work for him and to be able to buy my own truck so that I can spend more time with Sebastian. So during that, so I would come back to Houston after having the training.
So when are you slated to begin?
It's flexible. I have tried not to make a independent decision because I didn't want to leave and have Juan be upset or wanted us to be able to come to an agreement together. So I didn't want to leave. So it's flexible. It's an open offer, but it would be life-changing for us, definitely.
So is it correct to say that you have not actually determined an exact begin date? Is that correct? As of today's date, you don't have an exact begin date?
No, I do not.
Do you expect that it will begin within this year, considering the current circumstances, or do you
Yes,
think?
this is an ideal time to go. Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. And so are you asking this court to essentially allow you to be able to move wherever?
Yes, temporarily.
Let me ask you this. Is there no possibility at all for you to be able to do the training here in Houston or in Texas?
Unfortunately not.
And are you currently working at another job or?
Yes.
Okay, so that other job, is that self-employment or do you work for someone?
I work for someone and I run my own business as well.
Okay, so have you given your current employer a notice or a decision as to when you're leaving?
They are aware that it is something that is a possibility of an exact date. They're in the same situation. They know that it's something pending.
Okay, so when you say pending, there's also a possibility that you might not even go at all. Is that also correct?
It's very important to me that Juan be
Objection, non-responsive.
All right, listen to the question, ma'am, and just answer the question, please.
okay.
So since it's pending, is there also a possibility that you might not go to New Mexico or take on this other job at all anytime soon?
No.
So it's definitive,
Yes.
but you have not given your current employer a date for you to leave.
No.
No further questions for this witness. I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Cantu, you have any questions of her?
No, sir.
All right, anything further, Ms. Turner?
Yes, just a few questions for Mr. Cantu in regards to the geographical restriction.
All right.
Mr. Cantu, what county do you currently reside in?
Harris County.
Okay. And Mr. Cantu, do you believe that if Ms. Casido move out of state, that it would prevent you from being able to be present in your child's life?
Yes.
And are you wanting this court to issue a geographical restriction so that you could be present in your child's life?
Yes. She
Has-
used it as a threat before that she was going to move. This is the
Has
first
Ms.
time I'm hearing that it was temporary.
Okay, so with that being said, is it safe to say that Ms. Casido has actually told you about leaving the state of Texas?
Not to New Mexico. It was to Lufkin, I believe.
Lufkin,
Lufkin,
is that
Texas.
Texas? I'm not from here.
Yeah, Lufkin, Texas. Yeah.
Okay, so she's never indicated that she was continuing to, she had no intent to move out of state. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And when she did bring up the thought of possibly moving out of at least Harris County, under what circumstances was that articulated to you? Was it just a random thought or?
No, she was telling me that for financial reasons that she wanted to work for her dad. And then that's where the company was in Lufkin.
Okay.
So she told me that she's going to move there.
Okay. No further questions for this witness. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Do you have any questions for him, Ms. Casedo?
Juan, did we discuss this in writing?
Yes.
The move in writing. And so you're saying that I use it as a threat. Can you describe that?
Yes. After the temporary order, you told me that you were going to move because you told me you were going to move.
So does that constitute a threat?
In the context of what we were speaking of at the time, yes, I felt like it was.
Had I disclosed the financial gains and the pros and cons in regards to moving for the job prior to the order?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you were aware of the financial situation that I was put in after you left.
I'm only aware of what you tell me. I don't know any facts.
Ma'am, what do you mean after he left? I thought you all didn't live together.
We lived together when we did live together. We have not lived together since the baby was born.
Okay.
Yeah, we lived together prior to that. And
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So he well, I guess after I'll mention. Okay. And so you're saying that I did not mention that it would be temporary move in writing?
No.
Okay. And you are aware that our communications through the app closed app are something printable and that we can present to the court?
Not sure. I mean, I guess, yes.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Ms. Turner? Any
Yes.
questions? For Mr.
Not-
Casedo?
No, Your Honor, but I did have one other question that I have for Ms. Casito that just came to mind.
All right, caller.
Ms. Casito, now my question now is you're asking this court to order modified visitation for the first 3 years of this child's life in the first phase to take place at the Harris County Domestic Relations Office. Is that correct?
I would like, if it's possible, I would like the order to state that that is the agreed visitation center, or that if possible, if we're come to a mutual agreement, then we're able to as well.
So how exactly do you intend to abide by this court's order if the court should order that, if you just testified that you intend to move out of state?
Well, also, like I said, this is something I wanted us to discuss and I wanted Juan to agree upon. If
Objection non-responsive.
Okay. Listen.
can you repeat your question?
How is it that you intend to abide by this court's order if the court should order you to have the modified first phase of visitation to take place at the Harris County Domestic Relations? How do you intend to abide by this court order if your intent is to move out of state?
When that time would come, I believe we would have to modify the order to have a different meeting place.
But did you not just also testify that your decision to move out of state was definitive? Is that correct?
Definitive, but not necessarily immediate. So when the time came that we did actually prepare for the move, not anything impulsive, it would be carefully planned out and we would be able to reconvene and decide on a new meeting place.
Okay, but you also understand that part of that modified visitation schedule gives Mr. Cantu visitation for 4 hours every first, third, and fifth weekend, as well as then it moves to an 8-hour period and a 1 overnight. Even if you were to move at some point during this year, as you just recently testified, how do you intend to abide by the court order under that visitation schedule if, in fact, you are moving this year? How is it possible?
We would have to travel.
So you're saying that you would be willing to travel every first, third, and fifth weekend solely for a period of 4 hours and 8 hours and then 1 overnight. Is that what you intend to do?
No, not solely. Our interests are here in Houston. Our family, everything is here in Houston. So, and the nature of the business is traveling. So that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. So you're going to have the child traveling back and forth every first, third, and fifth weekend?
Ideally, no. Ideally, Juan and I could come up with an agreement that the order would allow for, that we could minimize any burden on Sebastian. But
you understand that obviously there is no agreement, which is why we're having a trial here today, correct?
Yes, I think
that's all. That's the only answer I needed. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Cantu, you have any questions of Ms. Casedo?
No, sir.
All right. Any other witnesses, Mr. Turner?
No, Your Honor, that's all.
All right, Ms. Casedo, you wanted to say something now? You have an opportunity to talk to me.
Okay. I'd like to, just to be clear on the timeline, we very much had an agreement in regards to this pregnancy, that Sebastian would be the sole managing conservator of Sebastian initially. This was prior to him being born. Juan left for the period of the pregnancy, and it was something very difficult to go through. Since that time, then I did reach out to him periodically. I lived across the street from his family. I stayed in contact with his family. However, his family, I didn't know until after Sebastian was born that Juan had hid the pregnancy and the marriage from them. So although they saw me pregnant, they did not know that that was Juan's child. And so I have very much worked hard with his family to try to maintain and encourage a relationship for Sebastian. However, it has not been easy. It has not been what I would deem successful. I do think that Sebastian needs to have his father in his life. That is the best thing for him. However, I really do have concerns in regards to the safety and well-being of Sebastian when he's under Juan's care, based upon the 9 months of the pregnancy and this past year in seeing his interactions with Juan, and in the way that he interacted with his daughter and the state of his living conditions when his daughter would come and visit. Those are all large concerns. So my primary, concern is his safety during that period. Do I think that Sebastian or Juan is capable or that it would be well good for Sebastian for him to go with him immediately right now and supervise? No, I do not. And all of the information that he has denied or things that he has said, it's in writing. I don't know how I can submit that right now through the Zoom, but I'm more than willing to, and it would be contradictory to his testimony.
Mr. Cantu, you have anything further?
Only that, you know, like I have a daughter that I've been 8 years that I've had, you know, I would get her on the weekends and for the whole month of July on my own. So I know how to raise a child. I know it's not easy. It's a challenge, and I think I've shown that I can handle the challenge. I have a great relationship with my ex-wife, with my daughter's mom. You know, so we get along very well. I mean, and you know, that's it.
All right, Ms. Casedo, you know Mr. Cantu's family, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you have any problems with them?
With them, you mean or what I know of them?
Well, I mean, have you know them, you've met with them,
Yes.
seen them?
I have.
I mean, do you know where they live? Anybody, say his
Yes.
mother or his sister or whoever?
Yes, his mother, his brother, and I know where one sister lives.
Okay, would that be a problem with a pickup and delivery at one of those residences?
Yes.
Whenever that would be a problem?
Their house was on the news for neglect, where a local company had to come in and basically do some containment of some problems of infestations that they had. The house is in a complete state of
Who is this? Now, the problem was with who?
his mother's house.
His mother's house. What was the problem?
I believe they had an infestation of some sort. The house is, it's an elderly mother. It used to be an elderly grandfather, but he has since passed away. And then a disabled adult son that lived there in the home. So the home is in very bad shape.
All right. Ms. Turner, do you have a final argument?
No, Your Honor. The only thing the state would ask is that the court appoint, based off of the testimony, from what I've heard, that the court would appoint both parents joint managing conservators and make a decision in regards to the geographical restriction and the visitation and the retroactive child support, with crediting Mr. Cantu for what he has provided for the child in that retroactive judgment. Whether the court decides that would be the $200 strictly up to the court's determination.
All right, the court finds that the following orders are in the best interest of the child: mother and father appointed managing conservators, father to have modified possession and access beginning with the second phase of the plan and the temporary orders. Pickup and delivery of the child will be at does the domestic relations office have that available for pickup and delivery, Ms. Turner?
Not to my knowledge. I think the only thing that they're offering right now is the actual visitation on the facility. That's something I'll have to look at.
Is there some place that's agreeable to both of you where he can pick up and deliver the child?
I'm okay at her mom's house.
How about at
She's
your house? That would be a good idea.
I'm okay with, yeah, I'm okay with it. I don't know about her.
Ms. Casedo, you all right with that? You're frozen again.
You're muted.
I'm sorry, I cut out. I couldn't hear.
That's fine. He's suggesting the pickup and delivery at your mother's house. Would you be agreeable to that?
To pick up and deliver, Sebastian to drop off, pick up and,
Yes,
yes.
that would be agreeable to you. All right, so that's what I'm ordering then. Child maternal grandmother's residence. Closure is denied. Geographical restrictions to Harris and contiguous counties. Retroactive child support awarded in the amount of $3,000. $35 a month. Beginning August 1st, 2020. All other stipulations are approved. Anything further, Ms. Turner?
No, Your Honor, that is all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. May we be excused? You guys just wait right there for a minute. Don't hang up.